For coming today. And Erica appreciates it too, right?
Yeah, it's nice not to talk to nobody.
So Erica is the first of a series that we're holding. It's called our Town Hall series. It's about cracking the code. And we know that there's all different types of agents who crack the code in their own, specialty in their own little area. And I really want to make sure that we're sharing that with everybody. So get ready to take some notes, ask some questions. We're going to dive in deep with Erica. Erica Mowrey she works out of our Williamsport office, and she's been an agent for 7 years and 8 months. Who's counting? Right? Erica was an independent agent. She's been at a couple different brokerages and currently has 12 members on her team. So she went from an independent agent to a team lead. So the form for this is I'm going to fast fire questions to her. If you have a question, raise your hand and let's get it in there or ask, because you guys are the ones that I want to have the knowledge. So I want to make sure you're answering the questions that you have. Ready? Let's go. All right. So Erica, what inspired you to get into real estate and how did you start your career?
I think most of us don't start real estate as our first career. I went to school for elementary teaching. And then when I moved to my current location, I got a private school job and was making horrible money. So I started doing direct sales, which direct sales, there can be lucrative, but I realized that those people, I could only continue to make income if I sponsored people that wanted to work. And I realized that a lot of people don't want to put the work into their businesses. So in the meantime, I had a friend that was my neighbor and also my realtor. And at night we would sit in my hot tub and we'd talk about our businesses. And I go, wow, a lot of what you're doing and what I'm doing are parallel, except you get paid a lot more than I do. So I said, do you think that I could, would it upset you if I got into real estate? And she was very encouraging. So then I said, hey, why not give it a try? And it was really helpful having those past experiences because I had a really good sphere of influence built from the teaching job. I did the theater, I did CrossFit, I, then had all of those hostesses and clients that already knew me and were on my social media. So having kind of all those different pools of people who knew me and respected me as a business professional really did help start my career right off the gate. It was really helpful.
So what brokerages did you belong to before finding Iron Valley?
I started out it was Weicker, and then they went independent. Up in our area, that was where my friend, worked. So I said, sure, that sounds good. And at the time that I joined real estate, they were probably the most competitive in our area, and they had the best training for new agents. I didn't regret that decision. But eventually, as I grew in my career, I said, there are other places, a team. That was a goal down the line that I knew that I wanted for myself. And when I approached the broker and he said, hey, I said, these are some goals, like, would you support me? He said, let me think about it. And really wasn't interested in that. So my friend and I left. Out of 30 agents in that office, her and I were 25% of the sales. So we left and we went to EXP. And at the time, that was right during COVID. Well, and when I went to EXP, I thought, well, not having an office freaked me out, everything, but we were entering into COVID. So at the time I was like, that doesn't matter. Can't go anywhere anyway. So at that point, that was the most competitive. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And to me, it was like, and at the end of the day, we do have to make money. That's how we pay in that company. Like, I didn't have any support. Nobody recognized your success. I had the best year of my career and nobody even said like, good job, or I noticed you. So I was really looking for a home base, and I had started a team when I was at EXP, but the structure that they had for team leaders, it wasn't beneficial for people to come to your team and stay on your team. So I just was spinning my wheels and not getting anywhere. So when I spoke with people at Iron Valley that had a team and they shared how simple their commission splits were, generously pay your people on your team, it just made a lot of sense to, and I missed having that support and the training and an actual office, so.
So moving up through those three brokerages, right?
Mhm.
What was the biggest challenge as an independent agent that you faced?
I would say mainly having people to go to that you could ask for help, that you didn't feel guilty asking them. I know when the first brokerage I was at, we had a woman whose job was to train us, but she was salary based. She didn't benefit from my success. So every time I called her, I was like, I call her again, I feel so bad. And then, with the relationships. So it was difficult, not always knowing the answers and not having, and sometimes at the detriment of your clients. When I first started out, nobody told me what an escalation was. So my clients lost a bid because I could have used one and I didn't know about it. So I think learning this business can be really hard if you're not part of a brokerage that has camaraderie, good training, and people that you can go to for help, that you don't have to feel bad if you call them 12 times in an hour.
So going back to the hot tub and then jumping into real estate, how long did it take until you started seeing some success in your business?
I was fortunate. I mean, I got my license in June. My company at the time wouldn't really let me sell anything until they trained me properly, which was more like, let me train you once a week. So it's like a little slow moving. But I did. I had my first sale I closed on my birthday, it was September 29th. And then that year I sold 5 houses, so that was, I didn't think bad for starting out. But my first calendar year in real estate, I sold 34 houses. So it didn't take me long. But I think a lot of that had to do with having a good sphere. I did, a couple of my first listings was literally just going after for sale by owners and stumbling my way through it. I remember the first time I went to for sale by owner, I forgot all of my stuff, including like my business cards, and I just like called a block away, like, I didn't know this, like, I just forgot everything, and then I just went and nodded and smiled, and I didn't get the listing. So, but just going and putting myself out there, I lost track of what I was saying. But yeah, and being consistent, working it like a job. I'd already been independently, I already worked for myself. I'd already done direct sale. So every single day I had to get up and find business. Because I tell people on my team, every day that you don't have an appointment is a day that you don't get paid. It's not a day off. So, and I have people on the team that say, oh, I'm a full-time agent. I said, so do you work 40 hours a week? Because if you don't work 40 hours a week, then you're not a full-time agent. You're just a part-time agent and you just don't put full-time effort into your business. So having that kind of mindset and that discipline, and a lot of that came from the direct sales. The company really did train you well on the difference between business building and business maintenance activities, and doing things that put appointments on your calendar versus just having a desk that looks neat or a CRM system that's, up to speed, but the things that are going to make you money, which is booking the appointments and putting the effort in to meet with people. So.
Okay, before we dig into actual like lead generation and business growth, I want to ask you, of those early years, what was your biggest lesson that you learned?
I mean, I was really like emotionally like everything about real estate really impacted me emotionally. Like if somebody didn't list with me or a deal fell apart, it would just wreck me, like just destroy. Like it was all my fault. Like I was the worst. I would find that if something didn't happen because it was my fault, like something I didn't do properly, yeah, I should be upset and go hide in the corner for a little while. But I've learned that if you've done everything that you can do in your power that day to solve that problem, support that client, get through it, and it doesn't, that problem isn't solved or you don't get that listing for whatever reason, and that you've done everything that you have the power to do, then you need to separate it. Because as much as real estate is my passion, sort of my obsession, you have to have a life other than that. Otherwise, this career will burn you out. So if you're on a vacation and a deal's falling apart, okay, did I do all the calls and do all the things that I could to put out this fire today, and there's just no solution today? Okay, then go have fun. And then
Good deal. All right, so we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of lead generation and business growth. So what are your top three methods for generating leads that consistently work?
I will say when I was a newer agent, I did pay for some Zillow leads, and I have found those always to be successful. But it's not successful if you pay for them and you don't pick up the calls. It's not successful if you don't actually know what to say on those phone calls and how to build rapport and how to provide value in a very short period of time, so that and educate that rando that you get on the phone. How can you convert them into your new best friend in 5 minutes? So there's those are only successful if you know how to work those leads. I mean, I was fortunate to already have a pretty established sphere. So I mean, so my advice to people who don't have that, or you're not on social media, and so people, you're not in front of people all the time, is instead of going out and looking for business, go out and make new friends. Join a gym, join a club, do something that's going to get you in front of people, that people like you, and they know you for just being a trustworthy person, not a realtor, because I'm sure real estate is going to come up at some point, but that shouldn't be the purpose of that relationship. So that's been helpful to me, going after for sale by owners, all of that, those have all been really helpful. And doing events, like for example, I'm doing a bridal expo this weekend, and knowing how to talk to those people and how to build, fill up that pipeline. So, one of the things we're trying to do as a team, and not really for me at this point, a lot of my business is referral, but trying to do an event every other week, whether it's a Easter egg hunt at your church, whether it's a 5K run, something that's going to get you talking to people and getting you their contact information. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do these events. So that's a whole nother thing, but you can call me if you're doing an event and I'll tell you some of the things that have been successful for me. But yeah, you got to just get out there and meet people.
So you talked about when you get a lead, like you've learned how to convert them into a client or a friend on that phone call pretty quickly, right? So what's your secret? How do you do that?
So first of all, especially if it's a random call from Zillow, half the time the house they're calling on is pending. So the last thing I'm going to talk to them about when I could pick up the phone is the house that they actually wanted to see. That's the last thing we're going to talk about. So I said, oh, okay. So are you a first time buyer? Tell me a little bit more about your situation. And I get to know them. Well, what about the property you inquired about? Do you like, but I'm trying to find out more about their situation. Most of the time, they didn't really realize that they were going to talk to you in the first place. So, oh God, I got a real person. And so, hey, a lot of times I say, I'm so glad that Zillow connected us today. I said, because just so you know, I'm a first time buyer specialist. And so I'm super glad that we got connected. And one of the things I'm going to do for you, and most of the time I find out their situation. And a lot of times they're not pre-approved. They don't know anything about this process. They don't have any money. Okay. At least where I live, the average sales price is under 200,000. Okay. So you'll always notice that we're top in transactions and never in sales. Okay. It's really frustrating. It's a lot of fun. So, but most people, I don't have any money. So I'm jumping topics. I'm sorry, I do this all the time, but you need to know what lenders in your area offer what programs and who to connect that buyer to, because they're coming to you unprepared. So you have to ask those difficult questions. Where do you work? Do you have an idea what your credit score is? Do you have any money to work with? It's okay that you don't. Do you know that you can get into a house for a couple $1,000s, but let me connect you to the people who have the grant programs or have the credit expert program, or connect you to the people who are going to be the right fit for you, because your buyer's pre-approval is their resume. And if they have an online lender that you never heard of, you didn't see a fee sheet, you don't know anything about it, most of the time that buyer doesn't know what a mortgage payment looks like. They don't know how much money they need, and they're completely unprepared. So when I'm done with that phone call, I said, listen, here's what we're going to do. First of all, you no longer need to call Zillow ever again. I'm going to send you my personal information, my personal cell. I text them that with my business card when we get off the phone. And I want you to save me in your phone as Erica Realtor or something, so that next time you see a house, you can find me directly, because I can show you any house on the market, including for sale by owners, because you want someone who's going to be in your corner. Also, when we get off the phone, I'm going to connect you to some of those lenders that I shared with you. and I'm gonna set you up for property alerts. And, I complete an actual plan for what we're gonna do, and I do it immediately. As soon as we get off the phone. So if you're doing all of that, why would they need to call somebody else? Because now they know that they don't have to, and that you can show them any house on the market. Also, when I do connect them with a lender, I never just send them the link and say, here, go ahead. I put them in a group text with the loan officer and my. And that way, all still in my court, because you put it in their hands, they're gonna, it could be 2 weeks, and if you remember to follow up. So, that's been, really helpful for me with those random people. It's building that rapport, finding out about them, asking the hard questions about their financial situation. And then, I probably won't set that showing up if they're not pre-approved. And some of the tips that I bring that up, I don't go, are you pre-approved? Because people kind of take offense to that. What, you don't think I have any money? Well, you just told me you work part-time at Burger King. So yeah, I'm thinking no. But the question that I really ask is, have you spoken with a mortgage lender yet? Or is that something else that I can help you with? And the reason that I'm asking you that is not because I don't think you can get pre-approved, is there's a variety of loan programs out there that you could qualify for. And I want to know which one you choose to use or that you qualify for, because certain houses only qualify for certain loan programs. And it sounds to me, based on what you've told me, that you're a pretty busy person. And I don't want to waste your time by showing homes that don't qualify or that aren't in your budget. So you always put it back on them. I don't want to waste your time. I want to help you instead of saying, I don't want to show you houses if you have no money.
So, good deal. So do you find yourself focusing more on repeat business, like your past clients? Or is it most of your days are prospecting for new, like brand new clients?
Nowadays, most of my days is focusing on helping my team get new clients. I get a ton of repeat business and a ton of referrals. So I'm very fortunate for that. But, in my career, I've sold like, I don't know, 400, 500 homes. So by the time you get to that point, you should be getting repeat business if you did it right. So that's not, so I don't prospect too much for a new business. It kind of finds me anyway. But I'm more helping other people prospect for new business by doing the events, open houses. Being like tonight, we're doing a first time buyer seminar. One of the things that our team has done is we've started helping local landlords find tenants for their properties.
Oh wait, this is beautiful. She told me about this last night.
I have a couple like investors that I work for, and they have a hard time where they just aren't organized enough to get themselves quality tenants. So I said, you know what, I'll list your your rentals for you. Not that much work to list a rental. It's a lot of work when you get a bunch of people on Marketplace or a lot of calls, and this is so annoying. But every single person that comes through, I put them into KV Core, #tenant prospect. And so now, after doing this for a year, I have 500 people in KV Core. And every single person, some of them are making like $7 grand a month. So we put them all on market reports. You put them all on, sending them listings. And every so often you can email, you can text, hey, are you still interested in renting? Believe it, homeownership is more achievable than you can think. And now we have this database, first time home buyer seminar. And now we have all of these people that we can text, that we can email, that we can invite. So we have close to 20 people coming tonight. So that's all brand new leads potentially for the team. So sometimes that can be a good place for you to start, because if you have 12 tenant applicants, only one of them get the apartment. So the other 11 are for you. You already helped a person. So and when I do a tenant, when I get inquiry, I email them like a preliminary questionnaire, just asking some basic questions. Do you have a job? How much do you make? So I know if they're worth setting up a showing with for the apartment, but also gives you a little insight on whether or not you think that they might be a quality buyer. And if they're telling you that they have a really good job at the hospital and they're making, $7 grand a month, any particular reason why you're asking me to rent this? Why don't we find you something to buy? So, just an idea.
So how do you keep in touch with your past clients?
I know that if you ask Christy this question, she'd say, I use KB Core a lot to keep track of leads, especially with the team. But because I've switched brokerages and and some brokerages have different CRMs, or didn't have a CRM at all, so well, I'm pretty basic. I'm not super, I wouldn't call myself super tech savvy. I've created I have a past client database and I have just a database to keep track of all my sales. And it's nothing fancy. It's just like the property, how much I made, but it's nice and I use Google Sheets because then it lives forever. You can pull it up wherever you go. You can share it with people. Like I'll share it with my new agents and then allow them to make a copy of it. So then they have one for themselves. But then first of all, by doing that, I have all my data since 2018. So I can pivot that data and see how much did I make each year? How much did when I was deciding what brokerage I wanted to be at, I could look and see how much money did they get off me that year and what support did I get for that commission? I was able to that whole. So that's one thing. One way that I've learned to keep organized is we all have dot loop here. So I create a task list for, buyers and sellers, and part of that task list, and then you can assign it to yourself, assign it for a date. And part of that task list is update my database. So after every closing, I update my past client database and I update my my statistics database. And also like once a month, then I can also input all my expenses from there. So it's like just a continuous organizational system. But the past client database, I keep track of like their birthdays and their house anniversaries. So I have postcards and it's just a task once a month that I send them postcards, house anniversary. I try to friend them all on Facebook. And my advice to you is if you see a life event, don't just like it, comment on it, not only because that's more personal, but also because the algorithm on Facebook will show up in their feed more. So it's also just smart. And it was nice, like one of my past clients the other day had a baby. I don't even know she was pregnant, but I saw that and was able to just use my quick Amazon and shoot her a frame for her. And she was like, oh my God, that was so sweet, but they like something to keep it personal. I send out Christmas cards. I have a newsletter that goes out monthly. I have a group on my Gmail. I create a group. So everybody I close on goes into the group. So if at any point I want to just shoot a quick email out, I can just email everybody, whether it's, hey, there's a really fun event coming up. Sometimes around taxes, I'll shoot them an email saying, hey, just so you know, you're going to get your tax bill in the mail. Don't freak out. You don't have to pay it. It's probably escrowed, but here's what you need to do, because most of those first time buyers are going to panic when they get the bill in the mail. So things like that, just to keep top of mind.
So speaking about social media, what role has social media played in building your brand and your business?
I mean, I'm sure that I've gotten like leads and people who have come to me from social media, but I think the best thing about it is just staying top of mind. And every time I see somebody I know, they're like, oh my gosh, I see you all the time. Like you're super busy. You're, whatever. And whether I'm super busy or not, they think I am because they see me all the time, right? So, and that's what I tell people, especially agents that are starting out, maybe they don't have a lot of business. Check out our office or our team's latest listing. When people are scrolling through social media, they're not reading like, is that your listing? They're just seeing that you're posting something, so, and relevant content, things that are funny, personal. You have to have a mix of personal, otherwise people just find you obnoxious, which I need to work on that. But yeah, I just think for top of mind. So keep it, whether you like social media or not, I'm not a huge fan. At least friend your clients, that way you can post about them, but yeah, mainly I would say top of mind, and then that helps with referrals then, because if you're top of mind, then people will refer you and so forth.
All right, so the next topic is mindset and productivity. So how do you stay disciplined and motivated during slow times?
My motivation discipline is the same all the time. I wake up and this is my job and I'm going to find ways to keep busy every single day. I keep everything open on my computer. So I have KB Core open, I have my email open, my Facebook open. I just kind of float around on all my tabs, and let me check on KB Core. I haven't done that in a little while. some people like, if you're like really type A, you probably would find that super like unorganized, but for me, organize the drawer that everything goes in. And then that drawer, I'll find it eventually. But yeah, I mean, I just think if this is gonna be a job, then you need to treat it like a job where you get up and you work it every day. Agents, if you don't have a lot of business, you're not running a team, you probably don't have enough to fill your day for 8 hours. You just don't. There's not enough paperwork. There's just not enough to do for 8 hours. So what do you do with yourself? I want to be busy, but I don't know what to do with myself. Besides, of course, you know, maybe an hour of your day is posting on social, checking your KV core, checking your email, keeping up with maybe the handful of transactions that you do have. I tell people, try to make sure you have 5 appointments a week. Get out of the house every single day. 5 appointments a week. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have a showing, you don't have a closing. Ask an agent that you're friends with or a high volume agent. Can I go with you on some of your appointments just for fun? Meet a friend for coffee, attend a training, get together with another agent to work on stuff that you hate doing, right? Or, you know, role playing or something, but find somewhere to go every single day because it'll get you out, it'll get you dressed, it'll get you, it'll get you showered. And I know all of us, the more days that you stay at home in your sweatpants, the harder it is to get out of your sweatpants. So that's my advice, 5 appointments a week, and make sure you have it. If you don't have it, figure out what way to get appointments. Even if it's just following somebody around. At least that's going to motivate you because being around motivated people motivates others. So
That's funny because Erica doesn't, when people say appointments, you think about, oh, I need to have a listing appointment or a buyer's consultation. And you clearly don't think that. You call an appointment with an agent. So it's anything to get you out there.
any business building activity and because you can't control who calls you on the phone. You can't control who's going to call you for a listing. You can try, you know, you can put yourself out there, but those aren't things that we have power over. So you have to do anything that's business building to fill your day and to fill your pipeline. If you keep putting the effort in, the business will come. But you have to be consistent on the effort. It's the same as like going to the gym. If you do it once a week, you're not gonna really see a difference. It has to be consistent, and that's the same for your business.
So what is your suggestion to a brand new agent in today's market? They just graduated, got their license.
A list. But mainly every day, I think every lead in your database should be touched, that's an active lead or a client, should be touched upon once a week with a detailed note, you know, so that's first thing. Every single day you should be in your database checking in on your people. Even if you don't have a house to send them, hey, just, you know, checking on you, want to let you know I'm thinking about you, I'm still looking for you, I'm still on the I always say try to find something relevant to post every single day on social media. Of course, if there's a training or something, go to that. I make appointments to go to for sale by owners, and I just set up showings. Even if I don't have, and I just say, hey, you know, we have buyers in this area that are looking and inventory is low, and I just want to be knowledgeable of what inventory is in the neighborhood. Can I set up a showing and preview this listing so that I can share it back with all the agents at my office? Just go make appointments to see houses and go by yourself, or bring a friend with you. Say, hey, I brought a couple agents from my office. And whether you get that as a listing or not, and that's a whole nother, I can tell you kind of my approach once I get there, right? It's good to know what houses are on the market. I sell a lot of those for sale by owners because then I know about them. So, but yeah, I don't know.
So if you were going to start out, how do you ask for business? So I feel like a lot of new agents have that, they're ready, they've got their license, they're ready to go, but how do they get that first client? How do they start a conversation with a friend, a family, somebody in the gym?
If it's a friend or family member, if you're in sales, you can't be too scared to ask people for stuff. You just can't. So you can't be too, afraid or ashamed to ask for help. So the best approach is when you're asking someone to help you, you're not asking them to help you. Like, hey, you're saying, I know you know somebody. Would you share my information? Would you tell me about people? If you take the pressure off of them actually doing something for you, because we can't make people sell their houses, you know, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But we just can't. So first, the people that are in your life, ask them specifically, I need your help. I'm trying to start a business here. It would really help me if you were to, here's my digital business card, save it to your phone. Share, you know, send, if you see me post something on Facebook, would you share it? But you have to physically ask them to help you, or they're not gonna think about doing it. You know, it's not because they don't care about you, they don't love you. It's just, they're not gonna think about it. As far as, you know, strangers, I mean, strangers don't know you're new. So you just got, I mean, if it's a brand new buyer, they're lucky to work with you. And that's the mindset that you have to have, especially if you're a new agent. You have all the time in the world to dedicate to them, right? Whereas a busy agent may not have that kind of time to dedicate to them. But my whole thing is we're a service industry. So if you're providing, I'm going to provide full service for you. I want to sit down. I want to educate you. I want to guide you through every step of the way, because most agents out there are not taking the time to do that. So anytime I meet a new buyer, I say, have you, you know, whether you want to see your house or not, can I take the time to sit down with you and teach you this process? And most people are going to be so grateful for that, because most people are not taking the time to do that. They're just saying, hey, you need to sign this. Let's go see a house. And so that new buyer doesn't understand what makes up a mortgage payment, what they can actually afford, what does this process look like, how do you as a real estate agent get paid? They don't understand any of it. So when you take the time to educate them and you let them know too, hey, do you know that I'm commission based and I don't get paid unless I find you a house, and that could take years, and that's okay with me. And I'll work really, really hard for you. And at the end of the day, you decide not to buy a house, you don't owe me a cent. They go, oh, wow, that's how it works. Yeah, that is how it works. So you are hiring me because you want me to work for you, you know, so there may be a chance you have to pay me. Oh, well, of course. And I like to get paid 3% because I have kids to feed. Oh, yeah, you totally deserve that. Nobody has a problem with it if they, most are not going to have a problem with it if they understand how it works. So I always offer the opportunity to educate somebody. You can also offer a market analysis, get people in the door. You know, hey, can I come look at your house and give you some tips on how to get it ready to sell? I always find that being generous ends up being helpful in the long run. I've had a guy, he said, hey, I'm gonna sell this house on my own. I'm not going to list it with you, but would you come look at it and give me some advice and tell me what price you think I should list it for? I go, well, you know what? Yeah, I will. You wanna know why? Because you do a lot in real estate and you know a lot of people. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna become your friend. And whether you use me or not in the future, which I think you probably will, but whether he does or not, I've already got multiple referrals from him. And a gift card. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. But it pays. I had another guy, it was a for sale by owner situation. I went there, the same tactic. Let me see if I can preview the home. And I saw they had like 20 showings. I was like, crap, this guy's not going to need me, right? I said, so when I left there, I said, hey, you're probably not going to need my help because you're obviously going to sell this property. I offered my services as a transactional licensee. I said, hey, if you do get a buyer, I can at least facilitate this for you, make your life easier. He called me on the phone. He said, hey, Erica, I got 2 offers. One of them was an unrepresented buyer, and one of them had a very experienced agent on the other side. I could have told him to go with this one because it would have made me money. I said, to be honest with you, that's the offer I would choose, and you don't need me because that agent's going to get you to the closing table. I know her. I very much respect her. But you had 20 people come through this property without buyer agents. Can you give me their names and numbers? And so he so appreciated that. And that agent was actually Jason Huff. And that's how I got here to Iron Valley. So it really helps to just be generous because it will pay off. So.
So what's the best investment you've made in your real estate business?
Like financial investment?
Let's say tools. Is there a real estate tool that you've invested in that you really like? No?
I mean,
What real estate tools do you use on a daily?
most of the time, I paid for Loop when I went to EXP and they didn't offer it. I really, really rely on the tasks and the systems in place. Yeah, I mean, I use KB Core because you guys provide it, but if you didn't have that, I would definitely, invest in some kind of CRM system. Yeah, I mean, I have paid for leads, and when I was getting started, that was really helpful, but only if you pick up the phone, like I said, only if you pick up the phone and you know what to say when you're on the phone, so.
What is your value add that you tell your clients that you provide over other agents? So when explaining your value, because that's so important, right now. Can you give us a little idea of how you express your value to someone you're sitting in front of for the very first time?
I always being an educator, I'm always gonna go back to education. But my job as your potential buyer's agent is you're always going to know what's happening, why it's happening. I'm looking out for your best interest. I'm gonna guide you every step of the way. There'll be emails, there'll be constant communication. And I'm advocating for your best interests. So I'm, it's about, and providing that way. I don't sit there and rattle off 35 things I'm going to do for them. That's just going to overwhelm them. I do have some documents that show like the whole process, and I kind of highlight some of that stuff. I say, but usually if I'm sitting down with a brand new buyer, I say, we're only on steps 1 to 3. So we're not going to get to step 35 right now. Like, I'm not going to go there with you. But I'm going to make sure you get to step 35, and I'm going to handle all the details so that you don't have to, and that you always know what's going on.
So looking back, how do you think that you're different from other agents that has led to this success that you've had? What makes you different? Like, what set you apart that took you to the next level?
I think it's just a general motivation, competitiveness. Like I said, I was kind of obsessed with real estate in a way, but you have to kind of be hungry, you have to kind of want to keep going. But also when you are successful and, when you get those referrals, like that's just such a huge compliment. And it's really easy to keep going when there's it keeps coming, so, you have to keep putting yourself out there and every day being hungry for the next thing and not just waiting for it to come to you.
Are you still in that mode where you feel like you're always having to reinvent yourself or always trying to come up with new ways? And where do you search out those ideas?
I think that I don't think I'm always searching new ideas. I'm just taking what I already do and continue to improve it. So, like the task list that I created like 5 years ago. Well, now it was started out with this many tasks and now it's this long. So like I used to just put the most important things through a transaction on there. But now we get the buyer insurance, we connect the utility services. We have so many other things that we offer them now. Like we just continue to get better at our craft. And that comes with, oh, you know what? I forgot to tell them that. Like, I should probably put that on my checklist. So next time they do transfer the utilities before closing, or, there's just so many little things like that, that I continue to hone my concepts, but I'm a big advocate for, I'm not going to try 18 different things if what I'm doing is working. Because I think people who are doing too many things are not focusing on the things that make the money. The focus.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're a teacher, that's a.
No, and if I read, let's put it this way, I have a book on my nightstand, and I started reading it when my son was born. He's turning 3 next month. So if I read, it's probably something, I know everyone's like, read these leadership books. I'm sure that would be really helpful. I don't do that. If I read something that's completely smutty and inappropriate, just mind-numbingly stupid. So no, I guess, but I should. But I don't read books, but I'm only observing and going to trainings and like educating myself other ways, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna ask you what your favorite real estate book was.
Not a good question. Move on.
So, how do you manage difficult clients? So, or when things just go sideways, what would be your advice to agents on how you have managed to keep everything on task? Just some words of wisdom.
Well, sometimes you can't keep everything on task, even when it's a huge dumpster fire, or your clients might be, you might be the one who has the horrible client, right? Like your client probably shouldn't be buying a house, or they're really difficult, or whatever. I always try to, no matter how mean or nasty other agents get, or the client gets, I'm always nice. At least to their face. Because that your reputation lasts with you. So the more difficult it gets, the nicer I get. That agent, the most difficult agents get gives at the closing table. You know, like, because when they get my offer next time, I want them to go, oh God, it's an offer from Erica. We're gonna get to the closing table, not her again.
Did Patty,
What? Patty?
did Patty get a gift?
We never got, did we get to close? No, she
Oh,
did
yeah,
not get
alright.
it yet. I'm sorry. That was an exception. No, but I do, I just think continue to maintain professionalism and listen to the client. But also, you are the professional, you do know, so don't let them walk all over you and tell you that you don't, like, I've had clients go, well, you didn't fight for me. I said, we didn't have a leg to stand on. I said, when we have a leg to stand on, I will fight until my death, but we were wrong. So no, I'm not gonna fight for that. Like, you have to educate your clients and let them know what to be realistic and not be afraid to do that, because you are the expert and they aren't. But you can do that but if you've maintained rapport and you've built a relationship, they should respect you enough to listen.
What's the biggest mistake that you feel like you made in your career? Like that you wish that you could go back over and, oh, I want to do over on this one.
I can't think of a specific situation that I would do over. I mean, I can think back to how many days or nights that were ruined because I emotionally let this like real estate control me.
I have no idea what you're talking
And
about.
not to say that it doesn't, because that would, I don't want to say like, oh, I don't care. But there has to be like a little bit of a division, and that because especially if you have, kids and a life outside of your job, you don't want the rest of your life to be tainted by what's happening in here. Because unfortunately, we don't work 9 to 5s where we can go home at the end of the day and say, this is a tomorrow problem. The problems are 24/7. So if you're not able to kind of mentally divide, you can really not like this job, and burn out. So, and I let that happen too many times, and I put real estate before people that matter too many times. So, yeah.
Mhm, got it. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask in specific?
Oh, yes, please. When you're saying you have 40 full-time agents, do you have a semi-structured day where you make sure you're on the computer by X hour and then?
But we have 12 agents on the team. I know I don't have like a structured, like I sit on the computer and I'm available to them. I mean, I do work, I'm usually working every day, all day. But no, I don't, but, I find that I'm usually available when people need me to, or I can be in a reasonable amount of time. So I think it's hard to be structured in real estate as long as,
Yeah, but you can say, oh, I'll start at 9, but then you're out at 9 o'clock showing something still.
right. And, maybe down the line, like if I get, big enough or whatever, maybe having some like office hours or something like that for specific things. But no, I mean, we have team meetings and we have like team trainings that are on the calendar for certain things, but no, but that's a good question. I think so.
I was thinking, do you have any tips and tricks when that you could share when you present an offer in a multiple offer situation?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, first of all, if you're given, what you're saying is if you're presenting an offer. So that's one thing that if you're not doing this, you have the opportunity to present your own offers. You don't have to let the listing agent present it. You can ask for that opportunity to present it. So like just recently, I had a scenario where multiple, just two offers, but the other offer was the listing agent. I'm like, oh, cool, awesome. So I asked to present in person. I did have my seller, my clients write, a love letter. That I made sure was all approved. I previewed it ahead of time and made sure they didn't have nothing in there they weren't supposed to put. But I did. So when I presented the offer, first thing is, I built a little rapport with the sellers. I knew they had kids based on the house. We made some jokes, it was 9 o'clock at night. They were just putting their 4 kids to bed. I said, I can't believe you got all your kids to bed by 9 o'clock, like good for you. My husband's still working on the other, our 5-year-old. And then I, of course, thanked them for allowing me to present. But first I started off by just telling them a little bit about my clients, a little bit about their situation. And then I did ask for permission to read my letter, and I was granted the permission by them and their realtor. And so that was helpful. And then I just broke down the offer in a very straightforward way. I did have an escalation clause. The seller didn't know what that was. So I took the time to educate him about what that was and gave him some examples of how it works. So he was fully educated. So it was just being very clear and personable and, highlighting what makes your offer good. And it worked. They really liked me and the offer, and they didn't take their own agent's offer. So, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can present in person for sure.
I think that's a really fascinating idea. I never heard of that before. So how do you present that to an agent? And did it feel like that agent was like, sure, come be in front of me?
I think it's gonna depend on the agent, they might be a little uncomfortable by that idea, and I guess at the end of the day, it's also up to the sellers. But yeah, I think anytime that you can personally do anything, the empathy that they can read, the personal part, they picked my clients because we talked about homeschooling and they homeschool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but that, they liked that idea of that happening in their home. So some people really care about who gets their house. It's not all about that. So the more personal you can make anything, the better. So, yeah, an agent may be caught off guard or resistant, but I think if your approach is, hey, listen, my clients would really like it if I could present my offer to the sellers. Is that something we can coordinate? I think if you just make sure it's always just your client's idea, you're not saying it because you think that agent's not gonna do it right. Like you're not trying to offend the agent. They should give you that opportunity. I mean, mine was on the phone. I didn't get to meet with them in person, which I prefer, but.
Oh, that's interesting. So you did it over the phone.
Yeah, they were in Florida and it was like 10 o'clock at night, but yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions?
Erica, if you could do one thing in your career differently, what would it be?
I can't think of anything I would do differently because everything that I did or didn't do all was what made me get better. So, I don't have anything off the top of my head that I would do differently. I mean, I had some really like just starting when I started out my first team, I had some definite frustrations and heartbreak. But I think that was a learning experience too. So, I mean, I guess maybe I would have joined Iron Valley from the beginning.
We did not say that.
Actually, it wasn't an option, so.
Any other questions online? In person?
What's your suggestion for a part-time agent? As far as doing business on a regular?
Do they have another job?
Mhm.
I mean, that's always difficult, because you have to work around if your part-time job can answer phones or texts and emails, that's pretty, if it's flexible, that's helpful. I would say instead of, 5 appointments a week, try to book 3 appointments a week, and but also have an expectation for yourself that's realistic. Because it is hard to do this job. I think sometimes you compare yourself to full-time agents and that's not that's not fair. So I would say set a realistic goal, but you should still be working your business a little bit each day. And then trying to get, you know, a minimum of three business building activities or appointments that get you outside of the office and outside your house a week.
None online yet. If you were to give recommendations to a new agent starting out who doesn't have a database, what sort of activities should they be looking to join? What would you recommend? How do they go out and talk and meet people?
I mean, gyms are great. If there's any kind of like business groups that you could join. If you're in a hobby, like, I don't know if you know, there's craft clubs or there's, you know, I'm in the community, I do like community theater, so that's a really great network to meet people. Volunteer, you know, find different places that you could go volunteer at. I mean, that's also just great exposure in general. I mean, that's not the reason you should do it, but it's a really like, you know, and then you can meet really great people. And then when people meet you in that opportunity, they're already knowing you're a great person because you're there giving up your time to help somebody else. So, yeah, just get out and then whatever your brokerage is offering, go to it. Like, don't not go. Like, there's just no excuse not to go, you know, unless maybe, I mean, great, if you have another job or whatever, then you just put it on like, you know, obviously the side or your headset, but yeah, just try to go to everything that you can and make friends with people who are successful. Most agents, especially I found like in Iron Valley, are pretty generous to give you advice or to help you or to show you some of the systems and things that work for them. So be friends with them, you know, find a buddy too, like find a buddy that maybe another new agent or a newer agent and make appointments to meet with them, you know, to call, you know, and spit off ideas with each other. That way you're comparing it is friendly competition is a good thing, but you want to compare yourself to somebody that's fair to compare to. Otherwise it's just discouraging. So, and that's another thing, like when I do like recognition or anything like that, I separate part-time and full-time because if your goal is to sell 10 houses a year and you sell 10 houses a year, then you have a really successful real estate business and something to be really proud of. If your goal is to sell 40 houses a year and you only sell 10, well, then you have some work to do. So it's, you know, compare yourself, figure out what your goal is. And if you're meeting your goal, then you're successful. It doesn't matter if somebody else did a lot more than you. So, but if you're not meeting your goal, then find somebody to help you to, you know, sit down and figure out why and what to do.
From at home, how far into your career were you whenever you started to feel confident and consistently in the groove of things throughout your day-to-day?
I would say probably pretty quickly because I was already used to working from home and like I was already doing something so similar, not similar, like getting up every day and keeping busy all day doing something. So I was already in that habit of being self-disciplined. So that came pretty natural to me. But for somebody who's not, like I said, you have to come up with a schedule for yourself. I always found that I would go to the gym at 9. I had a class that I went to, and that was like, there's not a whole lot that you need to do before 10 o'clock really, that can't wait for the most part. So try to come up with like a way to, you know, fill your day, and not all of it has to be work related, you know, because you don't work just 9 to 5. So, you know, if I was on the couch watching a TV show, the house hours, I didn't have to feel guilty if I did everything that I need to do. You know, you still put time for your but make a plan for each day and make sure you have those activities on your books. And if you don't, message one